You know what you clicked on the video for, and as a thank you, I'll keep this video under 5 minutes as best as I can. So I played a lot of OJ 1 and 2 in the past, and one of the things that I was most concerned about was the movement in this game, and I'm glad to say after 2 days of playing it and exclusively doing CPU matches just to get familiar with the core mechanics, is that while the movement does still have some of the DNA of the floatiness and, seeming like they have no gravity whatsoever, I do think the core movement of the game is actually pretty solid. Like the walking around, the new dodging mechanic, pretty cool to pull off, pretty rewarding, and I think that they did a great job on that. The combos themselves, super fluid, super fun when you get the hang of it. Initially coming from OJ2, which relied heavily on dash cancels, I felt like couldn't pull off much things in this game, but then I got adjusted to the swapping and the timing of the swapping and the use cases for the swapping, and I was just like, yo, this game has so much fucking potential. But there are some sore spots that unfortunately I have to talk about, such as when you're recovering from an attack and you have that blue glow around you. I hate the fact that characters all jump up. It's like the universal thing. It's a returning feature, and I don't even know whether to call it a feature or just a budget oversight of the game, but it's still here. It's very annoying because it's not something you can set up for or you could punish. It's not like a core mechanic. It's just super fucking annoying and super disorienting because why? Like, just keep them in the ground or some shit. Like, why do they have to jump up every time? And the fact that characters have the dashes that were still kind of annoying in the old games means that they could zoom around or skate around like air gear characters and just be campy as fuck. And because they have this new thing called a counter crash, which I actually think is cool when you use it to punish a player, but when they get access to it, they just start being nutty. And I'm saying this as a guy that hasn't played online myself, but I've seen a lot of videos of opponents doing this online, where they just counter crash. They just sit around, camp, counter crash, counter crash, counter crash. And the thing about counter crash is that it does not have any resource, utility. So you can just keep throwing that bitch out as much as you want, and it does some pretty crazy damage, unbelievable damage. Speaking of damage, combos. When you get combos to really work and connect, they are so rewarding to watch. It's probably the best thing about this game is the combos and the characters swapping, because there's so many reasons and ways to swap characters. You can swap characters offensively, defensively. You can have a character just fucking up your opponent and then go immediately into a guard crush while they're still taking active damage from the opponent that was last out. Another thing I don't like, but I think it's cool and quite realistic, the fact that when you do swap out an opponent, they can still take damage. I see why that would be a jarring thing to deal with, because obviously you swapped out needing a swap out then and not 2 seconds later. But realistically speaking, if I see you try to swap out, I'm like, nah, fuck all that. So I do think it's cool. Another thing I think is really cool that they didn't have to go plus ultra for was the voice acting. Not just the quality of the voice acting, but the actual dialogue that happens mid-match. It seems very dynamic, very situational, and it's just really cool because they'll actually speak on whatever's happening. If there's one character left on the opponent's team, they'll say, oh, only one left, or if you're losing, they'll be like, oh, weak heroes, blah, blah, blah. Really cool shit, especially for a My Hero Academia fan. The Plus Ultras are really cool, and the fact that they took out Plus Ultra 2 in favor of this new Rising system, I think is a very welcome thing. At first I was like, they're trying to skimp out, but no, I realized the Rising system is actually really fucking fun. I don't like that they skew the Rising access in favor of the disadvantaged player, because it's like this game was already an easy game to play. So it's like, to give an opponent such a broke ass mechanic, it almost incentivizes the opponent to lose to get access to 2 or 3 Rising meters and then just come back on some pro level shit, which is kind of unfair. It's like, if you don't give me many abilities to, fend off the shit or to match his skill level, he could just intentionally lose to win. And I've seen people talk about this, but now I kind of see how that could be utilized. The uneven terrain, and the fact that both players can't pick the terrain means that the player that's more adjusted to playing on uneven terrain would actually be at an advantage against the player that just plays on flat stages. So when I'm labbing combos, I'm on this gamma stage, which is flat, right? So which means that everything I lab should theoretically work online. But the fact that the stages online are randomly selected means that nope, you got probably lab each combo that you do on each of the 9 stages, which 95% of them are rubble and uneven, which means that you have to lab not just that combo on each stage, but that combo in each different part of the stage, because not every part of each stage is kind of set the same way. There's platforms and shit, and there's rocks and just random obstructions in the middle of the stage that will break certain things. And I noticed some funky things like I remember using Aizawa's quirk 3. I think that's the one that steals your quirk, and it goes through rubble, it goes through rocks and shit. And it's like, all right, I thought this was supposed to be a barrier, I thought this was supposed to be an obstruction, so I can't use close quarters combos if this rock is in between us, but I can use Aizawa's quirk 3. And sure, it was in my favor. I was like, oh, that's kind of busted, but I'll take it. But that's kind of fucked up. Like, imagine that happening online. So, you know, with that being said, there's some very weird broken things in this game that I hope do to some extent get addressed, but the core combat of the game seems really cool so far, and the characters are cool, and their unique movesets are just flashy and fun. And Midnight is just best character, right? I haven't played many of the other characters, and there's so many to choose from, but come on, you've seen her gentle side. Like, now it's time to see the rough side, you feel me? And she's just fucking cool, bro. Anyway, I hope that's 5 minutes. I'm done.